are now listening to the Dad Rules Podcast with your hosts, Mario E. and Kid.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Dad Rules Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mario E. and Kid. What's going on?
Nothing much, man. Had a busy week this week, but I'm ready to get to this topic.
Yeah, so today's topic is going to be don't judge a book by its cover. We're basically going to be talking about don't judge something or someone of their worth or their value just based off the outward appearance. All right, so I'll get started with that today. So, we've all heard that statement before. You probably heard it from your mother, or you probably heard it from your school librarian or your English teacher or somebody. But I know we've all heard that statement before. So we wanted to kind of take a little deeper dive into that statement, into that idiom, and kind of go through that. So, one of the things I think about as a dad, you definitely want to make sure we're training our kids not to prejudge things or people. One of the first things that comes to mind, of course, is books. And I also think about movies. And I think, how many times has it been that you've been, at the library, or picking out books for your kids when they're really small, when they're just starting to learn, and they may not want to read a certain book just because they see the cover of it, or the vice versa. They see the cover of a book and they may say, "Oh wow, I want to read this nice, cool book," and they really don't like it because someone or the author put so much effort into the design of the cover or the picture on the front page, and the book is nowhere near what it should be. And we see the same thing today, even with movies, right? How many times have you seen a trailer and you watch this trailer and you're like, "Oh wow, this movie is going to be excellent," and then you watch the movie and you pretty much saw the movie in the trailer. How many times has that happened? So those are definitely opposite ends of the spectrum there. But I think it's that particular instance is very, very important that we teach our kids not to prejudge something or someone, right? My son, I've talked about him plenty of times before, but he runs track, and it's always amazing to me how, when you go to a track meet and you look at a kid and you look at him and you think, "Oh wow, that kid's probably gonna win this race," because they look the part. They're like, it may be a 100-meter race or whatever, and you look at it and you're like, "That's the kid right there that's gonna win," because they're tall, they're slender, they've got the big strides or whatever, and you see the little short, heavier kid or whatever, and you're like, "That kid's not gonna do anything." And sometimes you're surprised, and that's one of those things and it was a recent track meet to where it was this one kid. I forget which age group this was, right? But I think they were probably about 10, 11 years old. And this one, the gun goes off, and it's a 400-meter race. And that's anybody that knows anything about track. 400 meters is basically one lap around the entire track, right? So there's one kid, he jumps out in front of everybody. He's leading for about half the race. And that's the kid that probably everybody would have thought that had won. The kid that was in the end, that was at the very beginning, who was the last place, he came back and won that race because everybody else ran out of gas. So it's one of those things where, hey, you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't go in automatically saying, "Oh, that's the person that's going to win," just by looking at the outward appearance, when in actuality, you shouldn't do that. In this particular case with the track meet that I was at, the kid who didn't start off the fastest, who maybe didn't look like he was going to finish the race first, he's the one that actually won the race. And I've seen the same thing with kids long jumping in track meets and things like that. The shortest kid wins.
Yeah.
And, it's just one of those things, you got to teach your kids to, we've talked about it before as far as being prepared, but you've got to make sure that you're prepared to do your best, but don't judge someone, don't prejudge just because of what you see. What do you think about that?
And I've seen a lot of movies too that you look at the title of it You possibly can even look at the previews, and it's not very appealing at all. And then once you really get into that movie, and then it has a good twist at the end. I love those movies that are like really suspenseful, or maybe pretty mellow throughout the movie, and then at the end it just has this huge turn of events. It just has you just sitting there like, wow. So when I think about that, I'm like, yeah, we should teach our kids definitely not to look at people and then start prejudging them. But I do realize that stereotypes are real. And I think it's important for us to let our kids know and understand that stereotypes are real. And let them know that the way you carry yourself, the way you look, the way you dress, the way your hair is, your glasses that you wear, whatever makeup you wear, or whatever the case is, whatever shoes you're wearing, people may judge you. So we need to be aware of that. I think that's what helps our kids in their development, is to be aware of those stereotypes and really see how unfair they are.
Yeah.
How many times have you met a person that really didn't look like they were very knowledgeable about something, and then when they open their mouth, they have a lot of knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
very
Absolutely.
understanding of concepts that not many people understand. So that book, not judging a book by its cover, I mean, that's deep. It's huge,
Yeah.
and it means a lot on so many different levels.
Yeah.
I do feel like as fathers, when making our kids aware of those stereotypes, nobody wants to be judged. So in this way, you treat people how you want to be treated. Goes back to that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we're talking about this, because I really feel like it's something that we all fathers need to talk to their kids about. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said, about this is a deep topic,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to go a little bit deeper with this particular topic. So when I think about this, don't judge a book by its cover, I want to talk about race for a minute.
Yeah.
All right. And this is how I look at it. I think that everybody has some type of maybe some unconscious bias. Okay. Bias does not mean racist. Okay. So let's get that out of the way first. Everybody may have some type of unconscious bias where you see something and that goes into your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see it again, that reaffirms what it is that you saw. And so you may think that this may be like that, right? It doesn't have to be about now. Unconscious bias does not have to be about race, but that's kind of where I'm kind of going toward just a little bit. I could have an unconscious bias that vegetables are disgusting because I tried broccoli and didn't like it, and I tried corn and didn't like it. So I may make a statement or whatever. I might have this bias that vegetables are disgusting, but I may taste a potato and like, wow, this is the best thing I've ever had in my life. So everybody, just because we keep those unconscious biases, I think sometimes, a lot of times, because something happens to affirm or reaffirm how we feel about it. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
A little bit. Okay. So that's how I kind of look at it, right? And I think it's so important with the way the media is today sometimes, and with access to social media that our kids have and things that they see and they're going to be exposed to, whether intentionally or unintentionally by friends or whatever and stuff, that we teach them, you know, all people aren't the same, you
Yeah.
know. And I could back that up and say all blank, fill in the blank of whatever type of people that it is aren't the same.
Yeah.
You know, I could have uh a bad experience with an Asian person, okay? But that doesn't mean all Asian people are bad people.
That's true.
Okay? I could have a negative experience with a white person. That doesn't mean all white people are bad people.
Yeah.
Um, I could have a negative experience with a fellow black person, but that doesn't mean all black people are this way. And I think it's very, very, very important that we teach our kids, you know, not to prejudge people just because of what, you know, someone else had just previously done. You know, I also look at it like this, you know, um, and I think most guys, you would look at it in this way. Okay,
Mhm.
so like if I just said something and you didn't like what I said, imagine it this way, perhaps. Imagine that there was a girl who you were really, really attracted to, right?
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, her last boyfriend had just hurt her. And she was feeling a little, I don't know if I'm ready to get into a relationship with you because, you know, the last person that hurt me. And I guarantee you, most guys would probably their retort, the comeback line to that girl because they really like her would be, well, I'm not like all these other guys.
Yeah.
Right. So my thing is, dads, when you're teaching your kids about not prejudging, use that same logic, right?
That sounds like
That
some game being spit there.
I'm just saying, so you know, use that same logic. Use that same logic when you're teaching your kids about race. And you know, some people may not want to talk to their kids about race. I get that, right?
You have
Um,
to.
but
Dads,
I think it's similar to if you choose not to talk to your kids about controversial topics, if I choose not to talk to my son and my daughter about race, if I choose not to talk to them about sex, if I choose not to talk to them about whatever other controversial issue it could be,
Mhm.
they're going to get that information from somewhere.
Yep.
And it may be from a source that I disagree with. So
Mhm.
it's incumbent upon me as the dad, as the father, to teach them the way that they should go, right? So I need to be talking to them about these things. And I think that you know, again, you know, don't prejudge. You know, and I think about it like this too, and you kind of mentioned it. Um, Sometimes, you know, the things that we do could perpetuate a stereotype. It could make people feel a certain type of way. And you know, and I know I've talked to you about this off the pod, you know, off camera and all these things, but I'm very cognizant of stereotypes that black males have, plenty of
Yeah.
them, right? You know, whether if it's the angry black man or the whatever it could be, right? You
Yeah.
know, ignorant or all we do is know about sports and all these different things, right? And I go back to what happened with Trayvon Martin about 7, 8 years ago, right?
Mhm.
And for the longest time, you know, I would not allow my son to go into a store with his hoodie on his head.
Wow.
You know, I taught him, hey, don't you know, take your hood off so people can see you. You know, and you know, some people may feel like that. You know, I shouldn't have done that as a dad, but to me, at that particular time, I you know, I didn't. I wanted to make sure that my son was not seen. Again, he was only, you know, 6, 7 years old or whatever, or even younger than that. But you know, I didn't want him to be necessarily seen as a threat. You know, young black kid with a hoodie on. You know,
Yeah.
but that's just one of those things because I didn't want people to necessarily prejudge him. You know,
Yeah.
so
And that's sad that, a situation like that can make you feel like you have to have that conversation that if he has his hood on, that he may be looked at as a threat to someone else. But it's real.
Mhm.
It's real. And I don't see anything wrong with you saying that. If that's how you felt at that time, nobody can criticize you about how you feel. And you felt like that, people may look at him like he is a threat because he has a hood on. As silly as it may seem.
Yeah.
But a young man was shot and killed. And I guess his hoodie has something to do with that person feeling like he was a threat to them, which is sad.
Yeah.
But you said something important. We have to start being comfortable with having uncomfortable conversations.
Absolutely.
We have to start, time is out for being shy or nervous about talking to our kids about real topics. We have to be comfortable with talking about uncomfortable conversations. And like you said, you talked about a lot of different things that we have to talk to our kids, and that's our responsibility.
Yeah.
To make sure that they are informed at the earliest of ages that they can understand.
Yeah.
About life. Us as fathers, we're our children's guide through life, and we, in that capacity, are a lifeline for our kids.
That's right.
And if we're not there to give them the information that they need, if we're not there to advise them, then like you said, they're going to get that information from somebody else that A, probably doesn't or may not know what they're talking about, and then be against your views and your feelings on certain situations.
Yeah.
And probably who they're going to talk to about things are their peers. And their peers are going through life with them. So essentially, you got children at that point. If you're getting advice from somebody that is your peer, and you're taking that advice to heart and you're using that advice, isn't that children raising children?
Yeah. Yeah. Or the blind leading the blind, whichever one you want to say.
I would rather go with blind leading the blind. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to. I mean, it's not even a question. If you want your kids to potentially have the best outcome in life, it is our responsibility to show them the way.
Yeah.
Make sure that they get these concepts. Make sure that they understand that there are stereotypes out there, and those stereotypes may not be in your benefit. Those stereotypes may not benefit you. So you need to be aware of how people may be seeing you.
Yeah.
And then the next step is fight those stereotypes. And how do we fight those stereotypes? With our actions.
Consistency of our actions.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Yeah, because a lot of times,
stereotype is that if the stereotype is that you're ignorant or that you're dumb, then we need to show people how intelligent you are. But go ahead, what point were you making?
No, I was just going to say, everybody knows me, knows I'm short. I'm not tall. You're tall. I'm not tall. So, people may underestimate me about certain things because of that I'm shorter or whatever, right? But I have to prove that I'm capable. Some people may perceive you or have a bias toward you, kid, that you're tall, that, I don't know. I'm making up something like, taller people aren't as smart as normal sized people or whatever. I'm just making it up, right?
It could be anything.
And so you have to prove to them by your actions, your consistent actions, that you are not a stereotype, that you're more than some bias that someone may have about fill in the blank, whatever it is that you are or have or whatever. So yes, that's very good. Yeah, and and before that, again, like you said, teach your kids not to prejudge people, because sometimes another saying is all that glitters in gold. So because something that looks a certain way and you judged it to be that way, it may not be, and you can't do that.
Can I say this? And I've seen so much in young people, in the 20s, and here I'm saying young people about people in their 30s, and it seems to me that at the end of the day, everybody wants to be loved. At the end of the day, people want to fall in love with somebody and spend the rest of their life with somebody. So, how do you feel about us as parents? Is it our job to help them? Not saying go and point them out, but shouldn't we be teaching our kids about the people that they're going to date or the people that they should look to try and date? And this doesn't happen at 20 years old. That's why when you start teaching them, shouldn't we teach them at an early age on this is how you should be treated? This is what you should look for in a significant other. When you get grown, then this is what you're gonna look for. Not rushing your kids into relationships early on, but showing those examples at home. Like with my son, I show him how a woman is to be treated at home.
Mm-hmm.
The way I treat my wife is the first lesson for him on how he's supposed to treat his significant other.
That's right.
And his mother is supposed to teach him what he should look for in a lady.
That's right.
If we don't teach them that, then they get into the dating pool and then they don't even have a clue on what they should be looking for. Looking for love in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
Putting up with things that they should not be putting up with. Or having their standards too high and not being realistic. It goes both ways. When you say everything that glitters is not gold, that also means, because, as men, we're visual.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be with somebody unless we feel like they're pretty.
Mm-hmm.
We all have different tastes. We all think, pretty may be one way to you, pretty may be one thing for me. But at the end of the day, we want somebody that looks nice to us.
Mm-hmm.
So when you said everything that glitters is not gold, that made me think of, guys, when you're talking to your sons about girls and stuff like that, you need to make sure, hey, every pretty girl is not the one for you.
Very true.
Every pretty girl doesn't have what she needs on the inside.
That's true.
And even for our daughters, every good-looking man might not have what they need on the inside. So I understand everybody wants somebody attractive. Everybody wants somebody that looks nice and looks good. But we need to teach them that the inside is what you got to live with for the rest of your life, because the looks and stuff are going to fade away. Mm-hmm. Just be clear and honest about that. The looks is not going to stay the same forever. I was interested to see your point of view on that, because I know you have a daughter that is in college and you have a preteen. So you're a lot closer to giving advice on love life and dating and things of that sort. So I just want to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think you brought up some really good points. Definitely, definitely that's something that it's definitely important that we teach our kids those things, and you have to make sure that you teach your kids the right way to be. You have to remember to do those things. Yeah, because I'm sitting here thinking, and as you were talking, you was talking about, all the glitter's not gold, and the way guys tend to see things. Yeah, man, it's I could go so many different directions with that, man.
Yeah, can you?
I really could. I really could. And
How many times have you seen a beautiful woman and when she opened her mouth? Now, I'm not talking about teeth. I'm talking
Yeah,
about the words that came out of her mouth.
yeah,
You was like, I'm good.
yeah, yeah,
I'm good. You can
yeah.
go where you want to go, but not with
Right,
me.
right. And then, and I appreciate the teaching that, I received, you know, you know, fatherly wisdom and stuff like that to help me understand that it's not always about what's on the outside.
Mhm.
So, and I appreciate those moments when I got that advice, and I know you were a person that got that advice as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's and of course, like you said, we need to teach our daughters the exact same thing. I tell my daughter, to make sure that um, you know, when you're, like dating and you boys and all these types of things, make sure that it's someone who's going to respect you. You know,
Mhm.
they may be you know, everybody, has certain looks that they want to have in a person, but it's more than just what's on the outside. It, it's also what's on the inside that matters. And if they've got to treat you with respect and treat you like a lady, the lady that you are, and you behave like a lady. And that's something that I'm glad to see, with my daughter. My son, he's definitely preteen, and we've definitely had conversations about, little girls and this, that, and the other. He's not, he of course, he thinks he's got his pics of girls who he thinks are cute, but as far as like right now, he's not into like, I need to have me a girlfriend right now. But I when I'm able to, when it's not too embarrassing for him, because he's kind of at that age where we talk about it, of course. But again, like you said, you can't shy away from those conversations. He and we've
Yeah.
had conversations about sex already, just like basic stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where you've got to have the conversation with them, because why? you know um you never know what they're going to hear at school. You
Yeah.
never know what they may end up stumbling upon, or coming across their feed or whatever. If they're on YouTube watching a video, they could be watching something funny and innocent. And you know how sometimes these algorithms go on some of these social media platforms or whatever, and
Yep.
something comes across as, whoa. And it can be like that. But yeah, man, you have to teach your kids, it's not all about what's on the outside that counts. you know it's on what's on the inside matters just as much, if not more. Somebody's moral compass and what they're about, and what they believe in, uh you know spiritually, and those types of things, right? That's all important as well. Not just if someone is a 10 or a 6.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. I understand where you come from. And I feel like we have to, and especially too, like being older, an older parent or whatever, you have more experience in things than your kids do. And I understand you can tell your kids all day long, this is not the person for you, or I don't approve of this person, or whatever the case is. Just because sometimes you just can get that vibe, and you know that
Mhm.
person might not be about something. And then two, and we talked about this before with like dating for marriage, and some people are just dating to date. But when you're dating with marriage, you're dating for with purpose. So you're gonna attract certain type of people. And when you come in contact with somebody and you know that you're marriage minded and they're not, it could be a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So if you pick up something like that, I feel like it's our responsibility as parents to tell our kids how we feel about the situation, and then they make their decision from there. Um, they get to a certain age where it's nothing that you really can do about it, but you have to tell them. You can't just have a hands off approach in these situations because, well, Dad, you saw it. Why didn't you tell me? Well, I wanted you to learn on your own. And then here we are 2 or 3 kids later, you know, in a marriage that, you know, neither one of the people are happy. Dad, why didn't you tell me what you saw before? You know? You don't want to be in those situations. You want to help prevent those situations. You want them to find somebody that they can be happy with, just like you're happy with your wife, you know?
Right.
And that's our responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they're going to get mad. Sometimes they're not going to want to talk to you. Sometimes they're going to storm off. They're going to speed off in their car. You might get a "I hate you." But as dads, we got to take it.
Yeah. I
Really?
appreciate now. I definitely appreciate now all the times where, and this is just not from, you know, my dads, but even from uncles and older people giving me wisdom, dropping knowledge on me to say, hey, you shouldn't think about that. Like, you shouldn't think about this like that. You know, you
Yeah.
should feel like this. And I appreciate those all so much now. Every single piece of advice I ever got from an uncle. Shout out to all my uncles. Um, Shout out to my dads and anybody who ever dropped wisdom on me when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
even when I didn't want to receive it and I didn't want to hear it. I salute every last one of you, uh, because it made me a better person. And even though I didn't want to hear it at the time, I can reflect back on it now. And they were telling me the right things. I just wanted to be, I wanted to be grown.
Yep.
That's as simple as that. And, you know, dads, you know, think about it. You know, sometimes, you know, you probably went through situations like that. Um, and so um, make sure you have a rapport with your kids to where you can always talk to them and they can always talk to you. And sometimes, you know, just like maybe it happened with you, uh, you may not want to hear it. You didn't want to hear certain advice at the time, but you were appreciative that someone took the time to give it to you later on, I'm sure. And so
Yeah.
we've got to do the same thing with our own kids. And don't let them getting their feelings hurt or getting upset or the fear that they may get their feelings hurt or upset. We've got to hold up a standard and we got to do the right thing.
Can't be concerned about feelings.
Yeah, and so you don't want to end up situation where uh they're a lot older and they're like, man, I wish you had told me this, Dad. I wish you had said that, you know, and I wish you had told me the dangers of fill in the blank, right? And we've got to do that as dads. We've got to have those tough conversations. Sometimes it can be the conversation itself could be tough by the material, or sometimes we could perceive it to be tough, or it could be tough because the reception that we may get or the resistance that we may get. But we've got to have those conversations. We've got to. You're a leader. You're equipped to do this. You were entrusted to help raise a child, and we're raising the next generation of our legacy. And it's important that we tell them the truth
Yeah.
about things, and we have to do that.
And I can remember, it's funny now, man. I can remember a few times. That my mom, I was like I said, you looking at that book and you judging it by its cover. Cover looks good.
Mm-hmm.
But you haven't cracked that book open and started really reading what's really there.
Yeah.
So I know a few times that my mom told me, like, look, that's not the one. And I know plenty of stories of guys and girls that had their mom or their dad tell them that, and they just said, no, you're wrong about this. And they went ahead and did it, and it just went south. But like
Mm-hmm.
with me, my mom, and I didn't ask for it. My mom gave her own opinion on it. And it was a few times she said she's not the one. She's out there, but this one is not it. It's no substance there.
Yeah. All that jelly, no toast.
So, so it's like, and I don't know what it was about me, man, but like I took my parents' advice. I don't know if it was because they were married for so long and I saw the success in their marriage and that's what I wanted. I don't know if it was because I saw marriages that were on the rocks. I saw marriages that weren't successful, and I knew when I chose my wife, I was gonna have to pick the right one. So, like when my mom told me that, like I took that to heart, man. I took it to heart, and it helped me. It helped me. So, if it helped me by listening to my parents, then it's gonna help your kids by you. Because I'm telling you, and like you said, dads, you are equipped. You might not feel like you are, but you got enough experience. You've been around enough, like in our circle of friends, you've been around enough good guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like to say that there are bad guys out here because I feel like, well, just gonna be some guys are not relationship material. I'll just say it like that. They're not good with relationships. Everybody can get better, but some people are just not good with it. And you can see it and you can point it out. And just if your kids just listen to you, you could save them a lot of heartache.
Yeah.
But it takes, like you said, talking to them early. You can't wait till they're 16 years old.
Yeah.
You can't start talking to them about relationships and what to look for and stuff like that. You can't start talking to them when you see them at 16 years old and they're walking with their boyfriend or their girlfriend to your car when you pick them up out of school.
Yeah.
It needs to be, that conversation needs to be early.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hit you sideways, because by the time you find out, you don't know what didn't happen.
Right.
So
exactly right.
You definitely have to, I would say, be proactive when it comes to having those conversations and building that relationship. And you can build that relationship and that relationship trust on other things. It doesn't have to have anything to do with a relationship. It can have something to do with your bond with each other and the trust y'all have in that bond, where your child can tell you things that they don't tell everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that trust is there. And once you build it in other areas of their lives, when you get to this relationship piece and you say, I love you. I wouldn't tell you nothing that will hurt you. Then you can do whatever you want to do. But I'm telling you, this is what the consequences. Consequences A, B, C, and D. Okay, if you don't listen. But if you do listen, A, B, C, and D is going to happen for you. The good A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
It's going to happen for you.
Yeah. I think about this, right? And you, when you said this just now, it made me think about it, right? So a lot of times, I think what we're doing right here, right now, we're dropping some of the same wisdom that we received, and a lot of times people think wisdom is all about just knowing this and that, and sometimes people look at wisdom as just being some old guru or some super spiritual person, or if you watch movies a lot, you think wisdom is all about Master Yoda from Star Wars, right? No, seriously, right? That's how people kind of perceive wisdom, as just like this all knowledgeable type person or being, or so to speak, right? But you just said it. Wisdom is more about listening than anything, right? And being able to say, okay, they're talking good right here. Okay, they're giving me some good stuff that I need to pay attention to. That is wisdom.
Yeah.
Because as you get older, you learn more things, things or whatever. But wisdom is also just as important. Listening to me, it's like, okay, that's the wisdom, is listening, you know.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I just want to say that real quick.
And just to go back to, talking about that book and its cover. And I feel like one of the places that you can really learn how to get to know people first before you start trying to judge and really see what kind of person they are. And the place that I learned this the most, and like I said, I felt like my parents did a great job with raising me. But the place I really learned that from was college. I got a story. When I went to college, my roommate and I, we moved in on campus on move-in day. And my roommate was African American. And I'm African American. And we had suite mates who were two white guys. And we were just going around just checking out our rooms, because you have one room on one side, then you have a joint bathroom that you share with the next room. So you got two rooms with a bathroom in the middle. So we can go into the bathroom from one door and then go into their room, right into their room from another door.
Okay.
So you got to coexist. We got to college. We went over there just to kind of greet them because the door was open and they weren't there. And on their wall was a Confederate flag. I'm not here to tell you how to feel about a Confederate flag. I'm not here to tell you what a Confederate flag means to me or what it means to you. I'll leave that up for you, each individual person. But back then, I'm just going to be honest, I didn't feel good about it. I always had a bad feeling about it. And when I saw that flag on their wall, I automatically went into defense mode. And me and my roommate, we had a discussion like, we're going to have some problems this year.
Mm.
And it wasn't anything that I could see past that. It's like, we're really going to have some problems with these guys this year. So the day went on. We ended up meeting the guys or whatever. They seemed cool, but your guard is still up. You got a Confederate flag on your wall, man. Ain't nothing for us to talk about. Right?
Right.
And as the year went on, and they were our suite mates for about 2 years. And when I can tell you those were two of the nicest, friendliest guys that you ever would meet. And we had so much fun with them. Coming from two different backgrounds. They were nothing like us, man. Nothing like us. But we got along just fine. We never had an argument. We never had a disagreement. And I've never felt any hatred from them whatsoever. Now, I'm not here speaking for everybody and how they feel about the flag, but I can tell you for a fact that these two white gentlemen, that's not how they felt about it. Now, I understand other people, they take it they handle it a different way. It means a lot different for them, but I'm just saying these two white males that I know or knew, they had no hatred in their hearts. But what if I hadn't have decided to open that book? What if I just decided to look at the cover of that book?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have never known how great of guys they were.
Right.
And I mean, as suite mates, it's like, just give you an example of college, man. Suite mates is like, it's 12 o'clock at night, the cafe is closed. You got some oodles and noodles that I can have because we ran out of food. We're not going to the store till tomorrow. It's like that. Yeah, I got a pack for you. Come get it. You know what I'm saying? That's a
Yeah.
sweet mates. You know, you got to kind of be on the same page with them. You know.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to share that because I just hate that people judge people without getting to know them. And if we all just knew each other or took time to get to know each other, I feel like this world would just be a better place because we would realize how much we have in common and we would stop looking at the differences and pay more attention to what we have in common.
Well said. Well said.
You got anything else?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay. Well, let's go to the Ask Dad. This Ask Dad is pretty special to me. We're actually going to be talking about our proudest dad moment. It's graduation season. It's a lot of parents out there being very proud of their kids, and I just wanted to ask you, what do you think your proudest dad moment was?
Proudest dad moment. I would say that so both my my son and my daughter, they're both black belts in Taekwondo.
Mm-hmm.
And I was definitely proud that they both got through that grueling 2.5, close to 3 year process of, finally getting their black belts. It was a lot of, a lot of times at class, a lot of times practicing at home, going through various different forms and all that. Those were definitely two things that they both did pretty close to each other. I think my son got his 1 month, and then I think like a month later, my daughter got hers. But that was a moment I was definitely proud to see them. They stuck with something. It was grueling. It was tough. Took a lot of memorization and just learning. And it's one of those things that I've kind of went back to try to use as a teaching lesson for them that, hey, hard work pays off, that type of thing. So I was definitely proud of them for that moment. So that's something they both did. I was definitely proud last year. I'd say probably the proudest as far as like with my daughter. I was definitely proud when she graduated high school because that's another big milestone type thing, right? Where all of the moving around that we had done as a family, and it finally wrapped itself up, and she was able to graduate high school, and she started college now. So I was definitely proud to see her and see her progress, and coming into her own as an adult, a young adult woman. My son, I was also definitely proud of him of his first year making track. He was fortunate enough to do really well at a regional tournament, and he placed to be able to go to Junior Olympics, and I was definitely proud of him for doing that. I think anytime, most dads will say with their sons, if it's something sports related, they're kind of proud because we like to see that, right? So I'd say for me, those being the main ones, seeing them both get their black belts in Taekwondo, and then my daughter graduating, and then my son getting an opportunity to go to Junior Olympics in track and field. So I was definitely proud of those two, definitely. And I try to use both of those situations as teaching examples of perseverance and hard work and dedication. Those things pay off.
Okay, so when we thought about this, Ask Dad, it's a lot of things you think about. Think about his first words. You think about first time walking, crawling. Think about using the potty for the first time because my son's a little young. He'll be 4 at the end of this month. So I haven't gotten to the black belt and the graduation stage, but my son, he did graduate from his preschool program this week, and he's going to pre-K. So he's actually going to be in big boy school.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that. I definitely was proud of him on that day. But when I really thought deep about it, I started to think about, I wanted to take it a step further and look at it from a different angle. And me being proud, my proudest dad moment. And this week we actually had I had a proud dad moment. And this week I was able to graduate with my master's degree. And I actually graduated like in December 2019, and I was supposed to graduate spring 2020, but we know 2020 was a little crazy with COVID and everything, so it kind of got pushed back another year. So I was able to finally graduate this year. We'll actually go through the process of graduation, in person. And there, my nephew, he graduated with his bachelor's degree from the same university. And my mother-in-law, she graduated with her master's degree from the same university. And we actually all were able to graduate at the same time.
That's
my
awesome.
nephew actually went physically to school there, like on campus, and we went, online. And I say it's my proudest dad moment because we're all family. And my son was able to see it. He was actually able to see it. Now, he may not be able to remember everything. He's young. Like I said, he's about 4 years old. He might not be able to remember the day, but we took pictures. And one day I'll be able to tell him, see this picture here? That's your grandmother. That's your dad. And that's your big cousin. And we all graduated. And I started thinking about the legacy that was put into place on that day, that he was actually able to witness that.
Yeah.
And it just made me feel like it's some great things that's coming his way. He's going to accomplish some great things in his life. And, he has a legacy to uphold. I'm not saying it's pressure behind that, but it's something definitely that he can strive toward.
Yeah.
He can pull up by. So that really made me feel proud. And I was just glad that he was able to see it. Of course, sometimes I say, man, I should have got my master's degree right after my bachelor's when I was like 23 or whatever. But it's a sweet moment because if I had did that, then my son wouldn't be able to see it himself.
Yeah.
And who knows, he might graduate from that same university one day. So that really made me feel good as a dad. It really did. And that's my proudest dad moment to the date.
Yeah. That's awesome though, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, looks like that's all we got for today. We thank you guys for joining us. The Dad Rules Podcast. We want you to like, subscribe, comment, share, get the word out there. Hope you enjoyed it. Mario E. and Kid signing out.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Dad Rules Podcast with your hosts, Mario E. and Kid. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, follow and like us on Facebook and Instagram. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Breaker, and Player FM. Till next time.